If you go back to the week before Thanksgiving, our official best bets card on this show has a 7-1 run ongoing, and we would love to keep this up. What are we starting with this week, Dave?
Well, starting with the number one play that was in our number one play, or was our number one play rather, on Tuesday. So don't have to go too much deeper into this, but Bengals plus 2.5, still holding strong, 58.2% probability, 7% edge. One of our model's favorite teams in here all season, back-to-back winning picks, hoping to go for a third straight cover with Joe Burrow under center. Joe Burrow apparently hates football now. Hopefully that is not going to hurt us here, but apparently football is no longer fun for Joe Burrow, and hopefully he wants to have some fun this week and beat the Ravens like he did 2 weeks ago, which I have to imagine was fun for Joe Burrow. So come on, help us out, Joe Cool here. Anyway, same matchup as they had 2 weeks ago when they cashed for us the first time. Now they're at home, fully revived Bengals offense, putting up 30-plus points in 2 games since Burrow's return. Defense is so volatile, which is the problem that you're worried about. It's why the Bengals are 2.5-point home dogs. But offensive ceiling makes them an elite team to back here. And Baltimore is just not looking themselves. 2 straight losses. Lamar Jackson looking just kind of lost out there, not 100% at all. Passing game looks completely broken. And while Derrick Henry's been really solid, he's topped 100 rushing yards only once in his last 5 games. Didn't even manage to do so in this particular matchup. I don't think that might be the case this time. I think he's, good opportunity for a bounce back of a big game for Henry, but overall, really hard to trust the Ravens in this current form. T. Higgins on the Bengals side remains in concussion protocol. And with this being a recurrence of the same concussion, might make his clearance a bit more difficult here. He's practicing in a limited capacity, last that I saw. So that's somewhat positive news, but I would approach his props and any passing stuff with caution, probably leaning towards a Jamar Chase big game as he's dominated the Ravens in his career. Back to Derrick Henry real quick. Obviously the most dangerous player on the Ravens offense, especially with the passing game having so many issues. Bengals run defense is basically the worst in the NFL. And Henry's projecting for 88 rushing yards, pretty good, 61% TD probability. One angle I like, I'll probably save this one for the end of the show when I have a thing about it, but he did catch one pass for 44 yards last time out. Bengals have struggled to contain receiving backs all year. Henry hasn't had a lot of volume, projected for just 1.2 receptions and 12.3 yards, but he's plus money for 15 plus. Could be a sneaky little angle. He's so big and hard to bring down and fast that one catch can be enough for him to go off. So he doesn't need a lot of volume. And stop me if you've heard this before. The Bengals are bad at defending tight ends. And guess who led the Ravens passing game in week 12? Isaiah Likely with 95 yards, Mark Andrews with 47, and then the rest of the receivers. So no other Raven caught more than 2 passes. I don't know. Don't know if you'll see that again, but it's kind of surprising to see, of all positions, the tight end position be so easily exploitable against the Bengals all season long. You would have thought that would be some skewed sample sizes or some outliers, but it's not. They just cannot defend the position. And I'm firing up Isaiah Likely in a fantasy playoff matchup against someone playing Mark Andrews. So it's going to get interesting.
It's going to be such a fascinating chess match. The true tacticians of fantasy football playoffs right here. I'm all over Bengals here. Why not? I think this team's been showing real value in the model in recent weeks. They were on the card last week. I think the Ravens don't pass the smell test. They haven't all season long, despite numerous attempts to kind of right the ship. And they're supposed to run away with this division. Just hasn't happened yet. So I have no issue taking the team with the points here at a high probability from the model. Perfectly happy to lock this into my card. Next up, I see your team on the list here, Dave. The Dallas Cowboys with a bounce back spot. Please tug on the heartstrings for me here. What do you see?
They bounce back. I do think they do so. However, I'd be feeling a lot better if it weren't for I'll talk about it in a bit, but the McCarthy pop-up last week. But 57% probability here, 4.6% edge. I am happy that I get to talk about my team A little nervous. I got to sing their praises to back this up, but I do like it. Certainly within the range of feasible outcomes in this game. And like I said, I wouldn't even be thinking twice about this if not for the random JJ McCarthy Goblin mode game last week. But I will say the Commanders are basically a total joke on defense, while the Cowboys have not only turned the defense around a little bit the past few weeks, but are a considerably better team all around. Offense will be more in it. They have a lot more to play for. The defense is well rested and motivated. But yeah, I mean, that defense also, if there ever were a game for Justin Jefferson to get back on track, sadly, it's this one against the Cowboys on prime time. I could certainly see him going absolutely nuclear. Would be curious about his lines as well. Obviously, his receiving props have been discounted heavily with JJ McCarthy and the general quarterback issues for the Vikings, but he's still Justin Jefferson. Wouldn't surprise me to see like his 100 plus, still only like plus 220 or something. But we have him projected for, I believe, 67 receiving yards, so pretty much right around his line. And I don't really know which receiver I would be looking for if you're trying to attack that type of angle this week. Jordan Addison, maybe, but he's really struggled with getting good looks since he's returned, and with JJ McCarthy under center. Truthfully, I think the McCarthy game we saw last week, well, obviously it is the outlier based on what we've seen from the body of work, but I don't think we're going to see it again. If the Cowboys choose to blitz like they didn't against Jared Goff for some reason, they should make things a little bit more difficult for him. If they don't, then the Vikings are probably going to hang in this game. But realistically, they should make things pretty tough for what is one of the worst QBs by EPA in NFL history. And last week probably didn't do much to change that. Big prop angle for me in this one is on Aaron Jones, though. Might go nuclear after what Gibbs did and other receiving backs have done against this team this season. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, as you know, crushed the receiving yards ladder in the first quarter, crushed the receiving yards ladder in the game. Project Jones for 20 receiving yards and a 29% TD probability. But what really stands out to me from that angle is that the Cowboys really struggle with long down situations where players catch a pass underneath. They do not tackle well. If that guy catches the ball and gets moving, they don't close in on him very much. They have the 31st ranked third down defense on display with that right there. That's exactly how JJ McCarthy played last week. His 7.5 yard average depth of target was his second lowest of the season. He got the ball out quickly, short, and it made it hard to exploit his shortcomings. Would probably see that this week. So I really like me some Aaron Jones underneath. Sneaky little ladder play for me. Haven't debated if I'll be playing him in the fantasy league I have him in yet, but I do really think he's a good sneaky play. Personally, there's less on the line to bet Aaron Jones as a ladder than to put him in a fantasy matchup that could end my season. So I can be high on him and apprehensive about starting him as well. But anyway, yeah, Cowboys much better rested in this one after the 3 games and the traveling in the 2-week span. Should be a pretty good game for them. If CD's back, I think you forget about it. It's done. If he's not, wheels up on Ryan Flanoy and Jake Ferguson. Keep an eye on our projections in case he is ruled out. He's currently in there right now. They say he's, quote, progressing nicely, but what that means, we don't really know. And it wouldn't surprise me to see no update on CD till Saturday evening or even Sunday with this game, not until Sunday Night Football. And if CD's out, probably all Javonte Williams in this. Vikings rushing defense has been pretty poor lately. Over 100 yards per game in the second half of the season, 25th worst red zone defense. Javonte, 53% TD probability, the highest in this game by far, almost 10% higher than anyone else. Projected for over 90 total yards. Yeah, I do think it's the Cowboys. While they can be exploited and there could be some very good performance is hidden in here, I think they got this one.
Yeah, I am very in line with you on Dallas. Although it does break our Dallas biblical rule here: bet the underdog, bet the over. So we're gonna have to come to terms with that. But no, this Minnesota team at this point, they're not playing for playoff contention. The only thing that interests me with Minnesota here, which you're gonna laugh, this is every week I float this. Justin Jefferson's lines are so deflated, and this is the Dallas secondary. I'm just staring at ways to potentially bet him. I mean, it feels like forever since he's caught a touchdown, but plus 170 to find the end zone, 13-1 for 2 touchdowns. I mean, I would bet a role receiver, a wide receiver 3 against Dallas at 13-1 to catch 2 touchdowns. So I'm staring at that. It's kind of reverse engineering against the model that expects a Cowboys blowout, but I don't know. I might even work in like a reverse correlation, maybe a Justin Jefferson touchdown, same game parlay with Cowboys -5.5. There's got to be some way for me to personally attack Vikings receivers while playing Cowboys -5.5.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, plus money for 70 plus receiving yards is crazy. I know like what we're seeing. And last week, he didn't do it, but they had a play for him last week. I'm pretty sure Kevin O'Connell like drew up on the fly, sent Justin Jefferson screaming behind the defense. Would have been a 70-yard touchdown, but McCarthy, and he rolled out to the right where Justin Jefferson was and kept it and ran for 16 yards. Got a first down. They were well up. So, but that's the type of play you need to see a guy throw that pass and hit it. But they could do that again. It's the Cowboys secondary is exploitable, and Kevin O'Connell's probably like, I'm going to try that play again. I wouldn't surprise me. Maybe on the other side of the field.
Or at minimum, as we talked through it, right, even if you do buy the game script that Dallas is going to extend a lead here, you would think Minnesota needs to throw and just play from behind. So I think that's going to be my 2. I'll have Dallas -5.5 on the card, and I'm also going to have some combination of Justin Jefferson big game props as well. One more official play on the best bets card this week. It is Miami catching a field goal plus the hook. 59% probability here. Take me through your outlook for Miami.
Yeah, this one has tipped up just a bit. It was actually +3 on our early looks, +3.5, 6.5% edge, higher probability. Sometimes it does pay to wait. And our second look at this game this week, so we're probably not going to go too much into it. But yeah, you don't have to worry about the push now. You get the extra half point outside a field goal. Dolphins coming in, riding a 4-game win streak, wins in 5 of their last 6, keeping their playoff hopes alive, albeit very, very slim. They need multiple things to go their way as well, but they're playing their best football of the season, 30-plus points in 2 of their last 4, no more than 17 points allowed on this little win streak. A-Chain's been the key problem for everyone to contain, absolute powerhouse this year, but even more notably down this stretch, it's basically just give him the ball. And if they don't do that, it's the Riley Patterson field goal, and that's how the Dolphins have been winning these games. Left early last week, rib injury, had an MRI, no break, said he wants to play, said he could have came back in that game. Extra day of rest, good signs for his availability here. Steelers side, really surviving more than thriving, I would say. Escaping last week with 2 narrow touchdowns, overturned for Isaiah Likely. Mark Andrews briefly switched teams to break up a game-winning TD pass to DeAndre Hopkins, and just not really good stuff for the Steelers. Their offense is pretty stagnant in the passing game outside of DK Metcalf, kind of piecing it together week to week, and not a lot to be inspired by. I will say, however, everybody knows this. Tua struggles notoriously in cold weather games, 0-6, games below 40 degrees. But to be honest, it's not that different from his regular stats this year. 58% completion and a 1-to-1 TD-INT ratio is pretty much exactly what he's been doing this season. And their game plan has not been to lean on Tua as much as it has in the past. It's been Devin A-Chain. It's been field goals. It's been grinding it out, getting the win. Dolphins, generated 17 takeaways this season. Just that Tua is throwing so many picks that their turnover differential isn't high, but they do turn the ball or take away the ball, which is really good. Generate turnovers. It's a really good model probability here. So I'm not going to ignore the top overall play on the board, but we certainly wouldn't be offended if you guys don't want to back Tua in a primetime cold weather game spot. But the model likes the value here significantly.
Yeah. Yep. I will take this at this number. Very favorable football number. And the Dolphins, like I said, the hottest team in the NFL, very quietly so, without anybody giving you real attention. So it's good to see. We do this show twice a week. On Tuesdays, we give you the early look, and sometimes these best bets completely flip. That's the beauty of Dimers Pro. That's why you need to get Dimers Pro. 50% off. Promo code podcast, by the way. You can get all of this information on your own in real time and check it whenever you want. But if you are just a listener of this show, trying to kind of sort through our information, sometimes our best bets change. The early look value is a lot different than the value on Thursday. And this week, a couple of these bets were bets we gave you early looks at. In this case, this is one moving in an even more favorable direction for us, moving in a more probable outcome way. And I love to see that. So there you have it. Lock them in. We've got Bengals plus 2.5, Cowboys minus 5.5, Dolphins plus 3.5 as our official best bets for this week.